Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to give you my in-depth review of the Japanese Knitting Stitch Bible. I've actually had this book for several months and I have used it quite a bit in that time. So the book actually contains, and it says, where does it say it? Right here, that it has 260 knitting stitch patterns, which it does. They're all in chart form, as you can see. Move this here. One of the things I dislike about this book is that the charts are near the binding of the book, and as you can see, the page wants to roll, and so when you have to flatten it out in order to read the chart from the book, or as I like to do, I like to photocopy these, you really have to press it down, which just isn't that great for the book. I wish that they had reversed the pictures and the charts, but that's just a personal preference. Maybe you would like it this way. Every chart has a beautiful picture that details what that stitch pattern is going to look like, and they're all really well done pictures. Now let's go through the first 100, and I think it is 73. Yeah, so the first 173 patterns of the 260, the picture is right by the chart. You see here? Whereas for the rest of them, you get the picture like this, but then you can see the chart is going to be on a separate page. Now, the symbol instructions are located for the most part not at the beginning of the book. So you will look up the symbol, how to knit it, and then it will tell you which patterns that stitch is used in. I have found one error. This stitch right here, it's used in 2 patterns at least that aren't listed. So if you know that you have the right stitch and it's not listed here, that it's under this column that says used in stitch patterns, don't worry about it. It might just be an error. Go ahead and knit it, and as long as it looks correct, it's right. Now the other thing that they'll have is sometimes it'll say illustrated explanation on page 157, which is in the back of the book. So for the more complicated ones, let's find page 157. You'll see how they actually in some cases have these black and white picture illustrations, or black and white pictures, or they'll just have these illustrations of how to do the more complicated stitches. So that's how you use the book. So each of the stitch patterns is in its own category, and you can see these colored tabs that tell us, so these are all pattern panels. You'll also get crossing stitch patterns, overall patterns, lacy patterns with smocking. So that will give you a category that you're looking at. I wanted to talk about not every category more in depth, but just 3 of them. So this one is very interesting. So this is the pattern arrangements category, and I marked some of these pages because this is where they show you how you can arrange these patterns together to create an overall look. So you can see here, here's the original, they're calling this the basic stitch pattern. Here's the arrangement. So they've taken just one repeat, if you can see it there, of this pattern, and then on either side, here and here, they've used a smaller pattern to frame it. It's actually really beautiful, and I think that doing this makes this pattern stand out more as well. Let's look at another one. This one I find very interesting. So here's the basic pattern, where it's this pattern that it's at the center. It's like a book or a mirror image of itself. So this side and this side mirror each other. But what they've done in the arrangement is they've broken it up. So they've only taken this side and just repeated it again and again, so that the stitches are only going twisted in one direction. Which again is just an interesting way to think about how you can arrange these different patterns. Here's another example where they've taken the repeat and then framed it with something else. So here's the leaf pattern, and if we only look at one side, so now this leaf pattern is the center of this, and then they've added what looks like to me to be a stockinette border with these baubles as a frame of that leaf pattern. Oh, and then just one more on the arrangements. So this one, here's the basic pattern, here's the arrangement. The only thing that they changed in this is the decreases. So in the basic pattern, there's an every row decrease, versus on this pattern, it's an every other row decrease, which gives it a looser look, which it does. This is a lot more tight, and this is it's more loose. And you also, this ridge here is quite prominent, whereas on this one you can see it's less prominent. I really liked this section of the book. It's fun to look at. It also helps me think of different combinations that I might like, that I can come up with, and I really enjoyed this section of the book. So another nice section of the book is the round yokes, which you can use to make lace collars. And again, for these ones, the charts appear on a separate page, not next to the picture of it. And then the last section I wanted to show was the edging section. Like the previous one, the picture is not next to the chart. The charts are located on another page, and they tell you right here. These are all different edgings that you can use in the book. Is actually, in addition to all these different stitch patterns, there are 5 actual patterns included in the book. So the first one is this scarf pattern. We have socks, a hat, fingerless gloves, they're calling them fingerless mitts, and then this lace collar. Overall, I really like this book. It's not the easiest book I've ever used, so I'll just show another knitting book that I have that uses, again, so you can see it uses charts here as well, but you can see down here, it shows you what those symbols mean down at the bottom. It also has these nice descriptions of the patterns, and it also tells you what level that they would characterize the book at. And you can get, there are some more, complicated stitch patterns, not as much as in the Japanese Knitting Stitch Bible, but more intricate work. And this is a very, in my opinion, it's a more user-friendly option. If you've never worked from charts before and you're a bit nervous, this might be an easier way to go, although I think that if you put your mind to it, anybody could work from this book, especially with YouTube. Any stitches you don't understand, somebody's put a YouTube video up about it. And in case you are wondering, this book is Reader's Digest, the Essential Stitch Collection, and I actually bought this book used. You would never know it to look at it, but it's a really good one, and in my opinion, it's beginner friendly. So that's my thoughts on the Japanese Knitting Stitch Bible. It's a beautiful book. I'm glad to have it in my collection. Like I said, I've already knitted several patterns from it. If you own this book, or if you're going to buy this book, I am part of a Facebook group specifically for people who are knitting from this book. I will put that in the description box below in case you want to join it. It's not my group. I didn't start it, but I did join the group, and it is fun to see what other people have made using the book. So again, I will put that in the description, that Facebook group in the description below. Anyways, thanks for watching, and if you're on Instagram, come say hi to me on Instagram. I am at Birdsong Designs. It's always fun when people leave me messages, and I try to get back to everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video, and happy knitting, everyone.